Okay, let's talk about week one. Week one football. One of the cool things about week one always is that there's it seems like there's better games that are non-Saturday games. Starts off this week with on Thursday night we have a couple notable games. One I want to mention is West Virginia at Pitt. The big rivalry there is back, and then the other one is Penn State at Purdue. Um, yeah, so I think there's a lot to talk about with both of these games. I don't know that we have time to go into all of the games that are fun this weekend. But first of all, West Virginia at Pitt, the backyard brawl. These fan bases hate each other. West Virginia is a 7.5 point underdog, which is kind of nice. We have them as the zone blitz darlings, and that's right over a touchdown. So just saying, what are you looking for in this West Virginia Pitt matchup?
So in this matchup, we get two ex-USC quarterbacks,
Yes.
really three if you count Graham Harrell.
True.
So the
Didn't
yeah,
he? Didn't he play for Texas Tech?
sorry, Texas Tech. He was
Same
I guess,
system.
offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
At SC, almost a quarterback. Next thing to it.
Yeah.
But no, I'm ready. I'm here for it. I think there's a lot of turnover. I think for both of these teams, and when you're switching quarterbacks, it's almost more like you're switching systems anymore. It feels like where it's like everything's so different and everything looks different. It's going to be just a lot of new things to watch. These teams haven't played for a long time, which like they used to be yearly rivals. They're not anymore. They haven't played since 2011. So this one here will be fun. You said the line is is Pitt favored by 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
If I haven't given away by now, I will at this point. I am a believer in West Virginia covering that 7.5. I'm not saying they'll win outright, but I do think they'll at least cover, possibly win. It'll be one of my locks of the week for sure. I'm looking for the quarterback play. It sounds nothing more than that. I'm just looking at what happens with these quarterbacks because we know they both have talent. They both are very heralded recruits back when they were recruited. So yeah, JT Daniels, he's bounced around a couple different schools, got hurt famously in Georgia, and now ends up in West Virginia. I think he will get the better of this matchup. I'm a fan of his this year. I think they do really well.
Yeah, I'm basically with you on all of that. I also have West Virginia plus 7.5 as one of my locks of the week. And I like it more than I probably would have before. Well, for one thing, 7.5 is a really nice number when you're taking the underdog.
Correct.
And also, with some of the comments Pat Narduzzi made this offseason about Mark Whipple, their offensive coordinator, who just led them to their best season in this century.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little more down on the Pitt offense than I was several months ago. And I wouldn't be shocked to see an outright upset here. I'm not necessarily predicting it. It just wouldn't shock me, and this feels like a tight game to me.
Mark Whipple, he caught a stray from, I believe it was Scott Frost and the press conference. Just a little bit of a backhanded slap suddenly about something about not being creative.
Yeah.
Why is everyone trying to blame this Whipple guy? He must be very unlikable, but he can sure coach offense. There's no doubt.
He can. That first drive by Nebraska looked beautiful.
It was pretty. It was very pretty. Yeah.
All right. The other game Thursday is Penn State at Purdue. Definitely more of a must-win situation for Penn State than Purdue. Purdue, though, if they win this game, the 3.5-point underdogs, should mention that, it does feel like that could almost propel them to all of a sudden you're talking about Purdue as maybe one of the favorites in the Big Ten West, which feels pretty wide open. Penn State, I think I've gone back and forth on them in this offseason. Where I'm at with them right now is I feel like they're going to bounce back in a decent way. And they need to show it. Like, I think this is going to give us a decent idea pretty much right away. Like, are we talking about a 7-5 Penn State team, or are we talking about a team that could challenge Michigan or Ohio State?
I'm at the place with this game that I don't have a strong feel where, like, there are certain games where I have a really good feel. I really think that I know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in this game. Penn State favored by 3.5. It's on the road, so it's in West Lafayette. Mm-hmm. I don't really know. I really don't know. This is a game where you're more watching to find out, like, what is it with these teams? These are both teams that made some noise last year, but weren't in the upper echelon of Big Ten teams. So, like, I think it's kind of just a bit of a bellwether game for both of these teams. The team that wins this one will come away you certainly come away thinking that they can really challenge almost any team, with the exception of Ohio State in the Big Ten. At least in a straight up game, the winner of this game, you'll feel really confident that they can go toe to toe with anyone.
Yeah, I have a play on this game in the locks later. I won't spoil it now, but
Okay, fair enough.
I will mention it later. Any games Friday night that you want to talk about? There's several games here. I didn't know if any stood out to you. Do you have the schedule pulled up by any chance?
Yeah, I do. Michigan State, you can watch maybe just to see what their next running back is going to do. Like kind of like, you remember last year, like Kenneth Walker really popped off like week 1. And if you weren't paying attention, you didn't really know that he was good. I was a huge Kenneth Walker guy a year ago. That I guess you could watch that. TCU, Colorado, another one that could be sneaky good. 10 p.m. Eastern. If you manage to stay up that late on a Friday night, that would be something worth watching. But for me, I don't have strong plays on any of those.
So does Virginia Tech beat Old Dominion this year?
We're at war with enough fan bases right now as it is. Let's not do that again. Okay.
I just think it's kind of interesting. Like it did feel like that was a huge turning point for them in their last coaching tenure when they lost to Old Dominion, and now they start the Brent Pry era with a game against Old Dominion. Say, hey, prove yourself. See if you can beat Old Dominion.
The last guy, Fuente, couldn't beat him. Let's see.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's go into Saturday's slate a little bit. Definitely a lot more notable games here. I'm going to just kind of buzz through these. If we have thoughts, we'll stop and talk about them. If not, I'm just saying it's a big slate. You're not going to be able to watch all of these games, but there are a lot of interesting games. The first one I've written down is North Carolina at App State. When I checked the line last, it looked like North Carolina was favored by a point. I also heard somewhere else that it was a pick'em. I haven't checked the line in about 24 hours. But this is literally a road game for North Carolina. It's at App State. App State is supposed to be one of the best G5 teams in the country yet again this year. And North Carolina, fair to say they struggled just a little bit in week 0. Not horribly. And they did end up winning fairly comfortably, but it wasn't super impressive. Do you have any feelings on this game?
The fact that the line I'm showing currently is North Carolina favored by 1.5.
Okay.
Which maybe that's just a reaction because Drake May threw 5 touchdowns last week. Even though the defense wasn't really impressive. So no, I don't have a strong feel in this game. Like I would be leaning North Carolina if I'm going anywhere. But definitely one to watch in the noon slate. The noon slate is one where you can kind of go cherry pick a few games because there's no real headliners. So you can kind of go look for some close games. And if this game is close, third quarter, something maybe you go check in on.
Sure. Another game I wrote down, just interesting to me, is NC State at East Carolina. Again, a road game for the ACC team at the G5 team. And East Carolina also has a chance to be decent this year, I think. NC State is favored by 11 or 11.5. Interesting. I might talk about this game later as well. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
I don't understand how NC State currently ranked number 13 in the nation right now, only favored by 11.5. I understand it's on the road. I don't really care. I don't think East Carolina is that good. If I was going anywhere, I would be all over the NC State over or covering 11.5. So, but I don't have a strong feel on East Carolina either. So
sure.
I guess another game probably where if it gets close, it's one where you look, it's an upset, right? It's a game that if that one stays close, second, third quarter, it's we need to be watching that possible upset alert over there.
Okay, now we get into some big stuff. Cincinnati at Arkansas. I should say number 23 Cincinnati at number 19 Arkansas. Arkansas currently favored by 6 or 6.5. This is a big one. Definitely one of my 5 games to watch this week. What are you looking for in this game? Do you feel like this is as simple as Cincinnati lost a ton of stuff and Arkansas will roll, or are you looking for a legitimate knockdown, drag it out fight?
Definitely looking for a fight. Absolutely. I think the Arkansas line, they're favored by 6. That scares me because I don't really know. The thing is, we don't know. Cincinnati was a playoff team just a couple of months ago. People seem to have just kind of forgot that. They were a playoff team and deserved to be there, by the way. Cincinnati deserved to be in the playoff last year. They lost a ton. They did. You mentioned it. They lost the corners. They lost the quarterback. They've lost dudes all over the place. But is this going to be kind of what Boise State was back, in the like 2010, 2011, somewhere in there, where they were able to go through whole classes and still be really strong, still have guys that were second, third stringers that ended up being really good football players. Maybe there's depth at Cincinnati. We don't really know yet. Like, we're going to find out. So that's why it's scary to me. I think Cincinnati, they're number 23 in the nation. They have every reason in the world to feel disrespected, because I think they kind of are being disrespected. But we we don't know. Like, it's so hard to say. Like, how good was Desmond Ridder? Like, we're gonna find out maybe, but like, we don't really know. So we're gonna find out. Arkansas, on the other hand, I have a fairly good feel about them. Like I mentioned, I said KJ Jefferson's going to have a good year. I believe that. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they will have a creative offense. I think Kendall Briles is a really good play caller, and I think they're going to play solid defense. So, like, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be close. I view it more as a coin flip game than Arkansas just rolling. I think this one stays that tight.
That's fair. I like the way you put it. It does feel like Arkansas is kind of the known commodity. We don't know what their record will be, but we kind of know what the quality of team will be. Like, we know they're going to be a very good team.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati lost, 9 players to the NFL, which is just insane for a G5 team. But
Absolutely.
they've recruited very well too, and they feel very good about some of the replacement players they have. So to me, this feels like, I think this is one of the games to watch simply because of the unknown with Cincinnati. Like, are they just completely the class of the G5, or do we see some other G5 teams that can challenge them this year? And I think we'll have a pretty good answer based on this. And chances are, like, also I should mention, like, there's not going to be a lot of other games this year where we're like really watching Cincinnati. Like,
Right.
we're gonna kind of judge them based on this game the whole year.
And I think Cincinnati, they put themselves at a place where if they come out, let's just say they roll Arkansas. I don't think they will, but say they do. Say they come out and just beat Arkansas down by 3 scores. Suddenly Cincinnati becomes a team where it's like, wait a minute, we now do remember they were a playoff team just a couple of months ago. That could be a potential 4th team going into the playoff.
Sure.
But Cincinnati, they put themselves in a position to really make a lot of noise should they win and win convincingly. But yeah, no, currently I think Arkansas is really good. I don't think anyone's going to roll over Arkansas this year. I see just a really, really intriguing game and a kind of a coin flip type game.
I do have a play on this game as well. I have a lot of locks this week.
Okay. All right. We'll get to those in a bit.
All right. Houston, number 24, Houston is at UTSA. I mentioned this. I think this is probably the top, like, G5 matchup. I mention it because I feel like Houston is sort of the one, not the only one, but definitely the biggest contender with Cincinnati for that for that top spot in the G5. I've been on record as being pretty high on Houston this year. They're only favored by 4 or 4.5 here at UTSA, who had a pretty good year last year.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this game? Like, do you think there's any chance that we see Houston just like explode and say, oh, maybe they're the new Cincinnati this year?
Like, I don't see it. Like, I don't
Okay.
think, simply maybe because they're not physical enough. Like, I wouldn't, like, they certainly don't have enough, like, really household name or potential household name type players.
Oh, hold on. Tank Dell. Remember that name.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll see. The line is 4. Houston's currently favored by 4. Vegas has this as a close game.
Yeah, it does.
UTSA was really good last year. They had a really good offense. I believe they lost their offensive coordinator though from a year
to
ago.
Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, like, I don't know. It's at the 3:30 window, which is unfortunate for these guys because there's going to be two really, really good games on. We might just kind of lose this one in the kind of just in the muddle of it all. But a game that, if Houston, I think the only way that this one really becomes noteworthy on Monday is if Houston really beats up on UTSA.
Sure.
That's probably the only way that most college football fans will really ever find out much about this game.
Chances are the average casual fan won't hear about it either way.
Okay.
But it's one that could, like, for those of us that are at least interested in the Group of Five's New Year's 6 bid or whatever, like, it might be a clue. It might be a clue for how the rest of the year goes, or who we're watching on New Year's Day, what G5 team is playing against whoever. So to me, like you mentioned, the window it's in, like, I'm probably not I'm probably not going to have time to actually tune into this game, but I
Yeah.
will be checking the score.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Number 11, Oregon versus number 3, Georgia in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Georgia's a 17 or 17 and a half point favorite.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is one of the kind of the Titanic matchups of the weekend as far as the brands go. You have Dan Lanning, who just was Georgia's defensive coordinator, won the national title with them, and then goes to Oregon, takes their head coaching job.
Yeah.
And in a way, he's kind of taking over a team that was designed to be kind of an SEC team. So in a way, he's sort of it's almost, I mean, it's obviously it's not an SEC matchup, but Mario Cristobal, like his whole thing was sort of trying to turn Oregon into an SEC team on the line specifically. Do you view this as he did a good enough job that Oregon's lines are good enough that this is a game for a while? Obviously, you're a Georgia fan, so it probably feels a little weird trying to. I know it always feels a little weird for me as a Notre Dame fan trying to preview my team's games.
Sure.
What do you think as a Georgia fan? Do you feel like Oregon can hang with Georgia, especially in a supposedly neutral site game that's actually in Georgia?
Yeah, I think it's not a neutral site. Like we can just forget about that. That's going to be 90-10 Georgia fans probably. The Oregon's physical. Oregon, even though they lost like Kayvon Thibodeau to the draft a year ago, they still have a really physical, fast defense. Their middle linebackers, they may have the best 2 middle linebackers in the country with Noah Sewell, Justin Flo, those guys. Like they have a strong team. They're not going to be just beat around early. I don't think so. I am a Georgia fan. I think Georgia's been kind of disrespected a little bit this offseason as a reigning national champ. I think they're kind of not really, they're kind of viewed as a step below Alabama and Ohio State. Maybe they are. Like we'll find out. We'll see. But like I think Oregon's going to at least hang with them for a couple of quarters. I think maybe third, fourth quarter, you may see Georgia kind of pull away a little bit. The line right now is 17. I'm not touching it.
Same.
I'm just leaving that one alone. I have no desire to put any money on that at all. Like I don't really know how to feel. I really don't. This is new for me. I've never been a defending champion before. Like I don't really know how what you're supposed to do after you win a title. So like I'm just going to be watching this game or try to let's not get into the weddings, but like I would enjoy watching this game just to kind of see where Georgia's at. I think Oregon's going to be, I think we kind of know what we're getting with Oregon. I know that may seem a little bit strange with new coaching. Bo Nix was announced as the quarterback today, which means the offense is going to look a certain way. It just is. It's going to be helter-skelter. He's going to be back there just hoping on a miracle, throwing up 50-50 balls, and somehow they work. But he's 0-3 against Georgia in his life. I don't think he goes to 1-3. It's very difficult to come across the country and beat an SEC team week 1. So I think Georgia wins. I'm not touching the line. That's where I'm at.
So when you're rewatching this game or whatever, like what are the things you're looking for from Georgia as a fan? Just what do you want to see them do well?
I think it's the offense. The defense is going to be really good again. No one's maybe saying that they're going to be the best defense in college football this year. I think they easily could be. Again, I think they have a ton of talent on defense. But I want to watch the offense. I want to see the receivers. I want to see the tight ends they have an incredible tight end room. It's unbelievable. I want to see what Stetson Bennett looks like after an offseason of just being the guy. He's been the guy. He's never really been the guy before. This is his 6th year. He's the guy now. He knows he has chemistry with all his weapons. They've all been there with him for a full year. I want to see what the offense looks like. I want to see if they allow him some creative chances. If they do a little bit of hurry up, I would love some hurry up offense. I would love that. Dear Lord, feed it to us. But we may not. I don't know. We'll see. That's what I'm looking for is offensive creativity from Georgia.
Can we get some 14 personnel, 1 running back and 4 tight ends?
Would love it. It's a real thing. It may happen. That really might happen. It's going to be a must-watch game. Absolutely. This is going to be a really good game. And just because Oregon, if they do lose this game, does not mean that they are not still a major player in the Pac-12.
Right. Okay, let's go to the evening slate. We have Utah. Number 7, Utah is going to Florida in the Swamp. Utah favored by 3 points here. Yeah. It feels kind of like a clash of cultures.
Yeah.
What are you looking for in this game? What do you expect from this game?
Must watch game. Like just
Yeah.
it's probably my favorite game of the week, simply because you said the cultures are so different. Utah has to go to the swamp and play that game. It's going to be humid. It's going to be hot. It's a new coach, new coaching staff for Florida. That place is going to be bouncing. But they have a good quarterback. Like Richardson's a really good quarterback for Florida. It's going to be entertaining. That is going to be entertaining. The fact that Utah is ranked number 7 in the nation and is only favored by 3 points against unranked Florida, who was not very good last year, Vegas is telling you what you need to know. This game is must-watch TV.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really close. Another coin flip game. I'm not betting on this one either. I would lean, if you have to push me, you could push me into a slight Utah lean. I think, yeah, I'm a fan of what Whittingham does. I think they'll be really solid. They're very fundamentally sound. I think they're practicing and they're cranking up the heat in their practice facility.
Yeah.
And just blaring music, just trying to get ready for this. So trying to make it as realistic as possible. But it's going to be entertaining. You want to talk about pure entertainment value? This is going to be incredible.
I feel like we're going to learn a lot about Anthony Richardson. You mentioned the quarterback from Florida, and you said he's very good. I would say he's very talented with the potential to be very good. And I think Cam Rising is already we kind of know what Utah has at quarterback, which is new. Like, we've seen Utah be very good for a long time under Kyle Whittingham. I don't know that we've seen them really have kind of that stud quarterback, and it feels a little bit new. I think in some ways we've talked a lot about how they have some parallels with Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Is it possible that this is Wisconsin with Russell Wilson this year? Like, I'm not saying he's a future top 10 quarterback in the NFL or anything, but is there a little bit of that possibility?
Well, you look at the end of last year when he really got in there and that thing was really humming. They ended the year putting up points on everyone. Like, they really did. You want to talk about quarterback continuity? That was some of it there. Yeah, they could have easily beaten Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. Probably should have won that game, arguably. And imagine how much differently we view them if they do that. Think about it. Think how much differently we view Utah had they just beat Ohio State after beating down Oregon twice at the end of last year. So, yeah, no, I agree. I think Richardson, you're right. He's tremendously talented. What does Napier and that whole what does that staff do with his talent it remains to be seen. Florida doesn't have any good receivers, or I hate to say that. They don't have many good receivers, at least none that we know about yet.
Right.
So they're going to be finding out who they have at receiver. Week 1, they're going to be finding out, and that's a tough team to go against to find out at Utah. So entertainment. I'll say this: SEC teams seldom lose non-conference games week 1. This is one where they're not supposed to win. So it's interesting. That makes it interesting.
Yeah. I would also have a lean towards Utah in this one.
Yeah.
I have too many locks already, so there's no way I'm adding that to the list, but
okay.
I would lean that way. But yeah, definitely I would say must watch. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so I'll be watching the Notre Dame at Ohio State game. We'll talk about that next. But yeah, I will find time next week or some Sunday afternoon or something. I will watch this game in its entirety at some point for sure. Let's talk about that Notre Dame Ohio State game. Number 5 Notre Dame goes to number 2 Ohio State. Ohio State is 17.5-point favorite in the shoe. It's going to be bouncing.
Yeah.
I have lots of thoughts, obviously, as a Notre Dame fan here. You're the neutral observer. What do you expect? What are you looking for in this game?
The line is 17. Ohio State is favored by 17. That seems tremendously high. I mean, how much different is Notre Dame from Utah last year? How much differently do we view those teams? How much differently do we view this Notre Dame team than Michigan from last year? Ohio State gave up lots of points to both of those teams. Those are both kind of in the same vein as Notre Dame they're a physical running attack offense. I hate to go too much into this because it's kind of what I spent most of my offseason talking when we talk about Ohio State is their lack of ability to stop the run. But I can't get over it. I have to see them actually stop the run against a team that's actually good at running the ball before I really believe in the new defense. Like they brought a new coordinator over from Oklahoma State, and that's great. That's wonderful. I'm sure he's a great mind, but he didn't bring any defensive linemen with him. Like are we gonna like? Yeah, it's a little concerning. So I'm not betting. Oh wow. Okay, I'm not gonna get into. Notre Dame covering 17 is the play here. It's the play all day long. I think it's close. I think Notre Dame. I think they're going to keep this one close. I think you have to slow the tempo down of the game, slow the game tempo down. There's definitely a blueprint to beating Ohio State. You slow the game tempo down. You keep possessions at a minimum, no turnovers. If Buckner goes crazy and throws a couple of picks, it can get ugly in a hurry. It has that potential, no doubt. I don't think you will. I think they will keep him doing what he does best, where he's comfortable. And if they get him outside, I really like Buckner on the edge against the Ohio State linebackers is a matchup that he's going to win for me 9 times out of 10. I think Notre Dame keeps this one closer than people think.
Yeah. His first step is ridiculous. And I do think his running ability, as well as his ability to make decisions with RPOs, I think that's going to be huge. I'm too close to this. Like, there's no way I'm touching this line at all. Like, I didn't even consider this for the locks. It makes my logical brain agrees with you that Notre Dame is the play here. And I think there's definitely a way that this goes well. There's no way I'm touching it. Okay. I do think there's going to be a chess match in this game that's going to be very interesting to watch. Number one, for Ohio State's defense, how do they scheme against Notre Dame's offense? Do they put 8 guys in the box? That's what I would do if I was them. I'd make Buckner beat them over the top, and I think he's capable. I'm actually fairly comfortable with him throwing the deep ball. I'm not completely comfortable with him throwing 15 yards down the field into a tight window, if that makes sense. Like he's thrown the deep ball pretty well before in limited time. I think if they can figure out a way to force him to make the tough 15-yard throw into a tight window, that's the way to go. But the fact is, like, Marcus Freeman has talked about it, like, they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to run the ball, and they have, I think, the perfect quarterback for that game plan. And they have 3 really good running backs that have impressed. One name to watch for is Audric Estime. You've probably never heard of him. He was like their 4th string running back a year ago as a true freshman. Big dude. He's like 230, absolutely jacked out of his mind. He looks like a Georgia or Alabama running back, quite frankly. And I also like Chris Tyree, the other. He's probably the starter at running back, and he's the guy with like 4.3 speed. So there's you kind of have a thunder and lightning scenario there a little bit. If Ohio State, if Jim Knowles was able to fix this defense this offseason, Ohio State can win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. The line actually makes sense to me. To me, it feels like the line is assuming the defense is fixed. I don't know that.
I'm just gonna say this. People have told us that it's fixed. I've heard from everyone that this defense is in fact fixed. When we haven't seen them play. We haven't seen this defense fixed. No, I'm in total agreement with you here. If in fact it is, and they can absolutely stop the run, you're right. The line makes perfect sense. I just think there's way too much assuming that this is. And getting him out on the edge, and if they could get even some running back swing passes, some bubble screens, some stuff laterally, I think that stretches Ohio State to places where they're not super confident. It puts their
linebackers in one-on-one. Yeah,
correct. Even their safeties. I don't think their safeties are just super athletic either. Their corners struggled to tackle last year in certain spots. You're trying to do that out on the edge. Maybe more than just pound it in the middle. I think you're trying to get off of left tackle, off of right tackle, and make their linebackers and corners make plays in space. I think that's a key to the game for Notre Dame. It's what I would be watching. And if they can do that, I think this game stays close.
The issue for Notre Dame is that there's another side of the ball where Ohio State gets to play offense and Notre Dame has to defend it.
That sucks.
And we all know about the passing game. I'm a bit worried about the running game for Ohio State. uh, I should say worried from the Notre Dame perspective, stopping Ohio State's running game. I think TreVeyon Henderson, there's a chance we look back and say he was the best running back in the country this year. I think there's a legitimate chance that that happens. And it's going, if it does happen, it means that they nailed the hire of Justin Fry at offensive line coach, which I think was an excellent hire. I also think the Jim Knowles defensive coordinator hire was excellent. I think the defense will probably take a little longer to actually fix. I think a really good offensive line coach, if he has a lot of talent, I think he can coach them up to be good, like in week one. Generally speaking, offensive lines can take a little longer to gel, but I don't know that that's necessarily a coaching thing. I expect their offensive line to be much improved. I think they'll be pretty good. That worries me. Like, you are going to have to stop the run with Ohio State because they do have TreVeyon Henderson, who is a beast. And if Ohio State is able to be balanced on offense, it's going to be a long night for Notre Dame's defense. I think they are a good enough defense. I think they're a top 10 defense in the country. I really think that that's going to be the strength of Notre Dame's team this year. I think they're going to be very good. That said, I believe great offense more often than not beats really good defense, if I can say that. Okay. Especially on the college level. I like Notre Dame's defensive line. That to me is the best unit on the team. I think it's a little more of a pass rushing defensive line. I'm slightly worried about their ability to stop the run because of that. And so I think if Ohio State is able to run at 5 yards a carry or something, it's going to be a bit treacherous. Probably the thinnest position group on defense for Notre Dame is cornerback, and obviously that's part of the reason I say that is Cam Hart is kind of the one proven guy there who's like got early NFL round potential, 6'2" guy, just very long and athletic, fast. And about 2 weeks ago, he tweaked his hamstring a little bit. Now they say he's fine. They say he's full go. Hamstring is not nothing, especially for a cornerback. Like that is concerning. They have a couple other guys, Clarence Lewis and Tariq Bracy, both of whom have had ups and downs in their careers. Their next two corners, they're going to play 5 most likely. The 4th and 5th guys are true freshmen. They've both played very well in camp. Like, they feel very good about them. I'm a little worried if you need true freshman corners to play against this Ohio State receiving corps. That to me just feels worrisome. That's a whole lot of talking. I think a final score projection for me is probably something like 34-24 Ohio State. That to me would feel reasonable.
In some ways, when you say that, I think you could easily draw parallels between this game and last year's Ohio State-Michigan State game.
Sure. Notre Dame's corners are better than that.
Right. Okay. Maybe. But like Michigan State last year, just they completely stopped running, completely abandoned running the ball and playing ball control offense. And then you see Michigan just do completely the opposite just a couple of weeks later. And like, you look at the difference in the games. So yeah, we'll see. That's the great thing about it. We'll see. We have all been told that the Ohio State defense is fixed. I'm apparently a hater because I want to at least see it first. So we're going to find out if indeed the Ohio State defense, run defense, is fixed. Is it better?
Yeah. I've heard the thought from media members out there that, this game will be over halfway through the second quarter. Like that type of thing. I've heard that a lot. Like it's just kind of considered, it's almost written in stone that Ohio State is going to blow out Notre Dame.
That's right.
I actually, am I bad for thinking we actually have a fighting chance?
No.
We're the number 5 team in the country.
I know. The disrespect card will be played in the Notre Dame locker room. And I think Freeman already said something like that, where I think someone told him the number 17. He's like, oh, I'll make sure to put that up.
Right, exactly.
Thanks for letting me know. As if he didn't already know. I'm sure they've been talking about that for the last 3 weeks probably. But yeah, no, I agree. I think this game can easily stay closer than what everyone thinks.
Yep. Okay, the late game I'm interested in a little bit on Saturday night is Boise State at Oregon State. I don't know if there's a lot to talk about here, but Oregon State is one of my darlings for the year, and they're a 3-point favorite against Boise State at home. So that's interesting. That would seem that I think that means that Vegas thinks it'd be a toss-up on a neutral site. Anything here for you at all? Are you interested in this game?
Yeah, if it's close, it's very watchable, right? That's
Sure.
a game that, at 10:30 Eastern, it's something that you watch if it's close. Boise State still has just a little bit of some reason. Maybe it's because they were really good when I was younger, and so it just feels good when Boise State is good.
Yeah.
I just really enjoy watching them be good. But it's in Corvallis, so it's in Oregon. I think it's entertaining. Hopefully it's a really good close game. I think these are both good football teams, and you always want to watch when good football teams play each other. So yeah, it's a game you possibly watch. Not going to make your top 5 for this
Right.
week, obviously, but just something to keep an eye on out of the peripheral.
Sure. All right. Sunday night for the second year in a row in week 1 on Sunday night, Florida State plays against Brian Kelly. Last year, obviously, it was kind of it was a really good game. If you're not invested, that was a very fun game. The Notre Dame Florida State game a year ago. This year it's LSU against Florida State in New Orleans.
Right.
LSU is a 2.5 to 3 point favorite. This is the first game, obviously, of the Brian Kelly's tenure. It feels like there's huge question marks for both teams. Obviously for LSU, it's a brand new coach. It's a new year. For Florida State, it feels like they're slowly trending up under Mike Norvell. It's very slow and steady.
Yeah.
Can they take a full step forward this year and actually challenge a team like LSU, maybe even beat them? Or is just LSU is like, hey, we're here, we're still LSU, we're still way more talented than you, we're gonna take control of this game?
When you look at something like that, there's definitely a team that has more talent than the other team, just from a recruiting standpoint, and that's LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And with Brian Kelly, if you're looking at like a coach versus coach head on head, who has the coaching advantage, I would say Brian Kelly and LSU. For me, I think LSU comes in. I think they actually win comfortably. I think it's a neutral site game technically, but that's that's technically only. This is going to be again 90% LSU fans just going nuts on a holiday weekend. They're looking for an excuse. So yeah, no, I think LSU comes in. I think they win. I think they probably win convincingly. I haven't seen anything from Florida State to prove otherwise. That's where I'm at. I think Kelly's trusted enough. He's been around long enough and has a good enough track record to where they're going to be disciplined. LSU is going to come in and they're going to have a definite game plan and a definite direction. And you don't know, Florida State, it's uncertain. We're still trying to figure out what we have there. So that's where I'm leaning at least week 1. It's probably not going to make my locks of the week, but I would be leaning LSU covering 3 points.
Yeah, as a Notre Dame fan, the game a year ago between Florida State and Notre Dame took several years off my life. So I'm just hoping to enjoy this game. I want it to be as tight as last year's game was, but I don't actually have to be emotionally invested this time. All right, Monday night, kind of our last game to talk about here. Clemson, number 4 Clemson is at Georgia Tech, favored by 21.5 or 22 points.
Okay.
Mostly notable because it's a Monday night game when there's no other games on, and it's our first look at Clemson. Obviously some changes this offseason, losing both of their coordinators, and yeah, huge question marks, especially about quarterback, that type of thing. What will the offense look like? Is there anything that can possibly be learned about Clemson from this game?
I don't know. I really don't. Georgia Tech hasn't put up a point in their last 2 games.
True.
Going back to last year, they haven't not a score. They've been mauled by, again, and that was against Notre Dame and against Georgia.
Yeah.
But Georgia Tech's just not very good right now. They're just not very good at football. So I guess you could definitely learn something from the quarterbacks at Clemson. That's worth watching alone, just seeing where Clemson's at, kind of what they're doing with the quarterback situation and how those quarterbacks play when they do get time. So, but yeah, I think it's a laugher. I think both quarterbacks will get playing time in this game. I think you might get to your third string quarterback if you're Clemson. I don't see it being close. I really don't. It's at the Benz Dome, so it is, again, technically neutral site, but Clemson's going to have way more fans there than Georgia Tech. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. There's not really a bright side that you can paint for Georgia Tech right now. Or at least I haven't seen it. So
yeah. Did I miss any games? Any games for the slate this weekend that you want to talk about at all? Any brief mentions?
South Carolina. We talked a little bit about South Carolina playing Georgia State. And some reason South Carolina is only favored by, I think, 12 or 12.5 points. That's interesting. Like that doesn't make sense to me. We can get into that with the locks, but I think that's noteworthy for sure. That's interesting.